Hello there, I'm Steve Arcade, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode of How It Started, How Gamers Became Gamers. This podcast is all about taking a trip down memory lane with everyday gamers, learning the who, what, when, where, and how behind their love for gaming. Along the way, we'll discuss different gaming-related topics and thoughts on all things gaming. Today, Ben and I are happy to welcome Keith, aka PlaybackFlak, to the show. We'll discuss how his dad was rage quitting before it was a thing on NES, Bayou Billy, watching his mom play Resident Evil 2, why he stands for Deadspace, the curse of the third game in most trilogies, his conversion from console to PC gaming, the demise of Anthem, No Man's Sky, Microsoft Flight Simulator, and more. We hope you enjoy the show. Okay, welcome to another episode of How It Started. Today we have with us Keith, also known as PlaybackFlak from Twitch. Keith, thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks a lot again for joining us on the show here. They say that gamers don't get older, they level up. So what level are you?
I'm 36.
Okay, middle ground guy this time. We've had 30 and now we've had 44 and now we got 36. Okay, good. We're getting a little bit of the young people don't want to talk to us old guys. I think that's the problem, Ben. They're like, I want to talk to this.
I don't care if my birth year too. I refuse to identify as a millennial. I relate more to Gen X. So
honestly, I don't think millennials are as frowned upon anymore as these Gen Z kids. They don't get it. They don't get it. Yikes. I'm just kidding. So Clamhammer, aka Keith, aka PlaybackFlak, tell us, how did you first get exposed to video games?
First console we had was an NES, so it's not so much of a person, I guess my parents, if anything, getting the console, and they had it in their room. And I remember, I don't know, 5 or 6 years old, sneaking into their room at 5 o'clock in the morning and turning it. It was not a quiet process, turning on the TV, selecting channel 3, and then turning on the Nintendo and blowing in the cartridge if it didn't start the first time. But that was my first console, the NES, Super Mario Brothers.
Did they keep it in their room because they played it, or did they keep it in there because, okay.
Yes, they played it.
Did they play with you guys?
Sometimes. My dad liked to rage quit. I mean, I certainly and that's a more place with me with playing Call of Duty, but yes, that's where the rage quit began.
Rage quitting before rage quitting was even a thing. Nice. So this would have been like the mid 80s, early 90s, yeah? Right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you said Super Mario Brothers. Any other games that stick out to you on the old NES?
Bayou Billy. It's definitely a lesser known game, but it's a game that I watched my dad play a whole bunch. I mean, it's I guess it's a lot like Contra, just a side-scrolling, machine gun carrying, action-packed video game. And the whole objective is to rescue Bayou Billy's girlfriend from terrorists who kidnapped her and holding her for ransom.
So basically the same plot of every game that was released in the 80s and early 90s. Yeah,
definitely inspired by Chuck Norris.
right. Yeah, I mean, you got Contra, you got Bayou Billy, you got Bad Dudes, you got Double Dragon. I mean, all of these are basically tough dudes going to save the damsel in distress by fighting their way through hordes of bad guys.
Right.
Yeah. Bayou Billy, though. Who made Bayou Billy? Do you know?
My camera here.
That's okay. Who made Bayou Billy? Do you know?
Oh man, maybe Capcom. I don't know. I looked it up recently, looking to see if it existed on an emulator, which it does, but I want to say Capcom. I'm not 100% sure.
We're gonna do our live research right now. It was Konami, in fact.
Oh wow, I was wrong.
The Adventures of Bayou Billy. Now, looking at this game box art, I feel like I remember the art. I don't know if I ever played the game, but I do remember this artwork. Huh. Okay, what else? You got any other ones that stick out to you?
Those two from the console. I don't remember a whole lot of other games that we've had of that at that time, or just playing Super Mario, Super Mario Brothers 1, Super Mario Brothers 3 didn't play too a whole lot. I don't believe we ever actually owned that. But the 2-player multiplayer, trading back and forth, taking turns, that's definitely a memory I have with my my brother growing up, and also my parents. I mean, my parents kind of, even into getting a Nintendo 64, they still tried to hang with us playing video games. But by the time games were that advanced, they were so out of it. I remember my mom trying to figure out the N64 controller and playing Resident Evil 2, one of my all-time favorite games. Yeah, she tried it. I mean, she enjoyed it. The puzzle aspect of progressing through levels, but watching her try to fight off zombies was really entertaining. Holding the joystick in the middle of the controller like that.
So did you jump from NES to the N64, or did you? I mean, I would assume you probably progressed
for a while.
Sorry.
We had a Super Nintendo, so we had the one in between.
Okay. Right on.
That was a huge to me.
So was your mom was primarily into like the Mario Brothers games or other games like that?
Yeah, primarily Mario. That was why it was very strange to see both of my parents, in fact, try to play Resident Evil 2, because that's such a jump from games. I mean, Mario to the zombie apocalypse, and but they did. I want to say my mom completed the game at some point.
Your brother, older or younger?
Younger. I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest, and that's your only sibling?
No, I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters. I come from a big ass family.
Oh,
there was a lot of competition over playing video games then.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. Did it ever get to a point where you guys had all your own systems and did your own thing, or was there maybe siblings who?
At one point, I shared a room with the brother closest to age of myself, then my 2 sisters, then my 2 youngest brothers, and we all had consoles in our room. We all had Nintendo 64. That really stopped a lot of fighting, and that was a smart move on my parents' behalf. Costly, but worth it. Less getting broken around the house.
What was your favorite N64 game?
Resident Evil 2. I don't know if the game was ever released on PlayStation. I assume so. I never owned a PlayStation. I didn't get a chance to play the first Resident Evil Director's Cut until after I'd already played the second one. I played it at a friend's house or something like that, but definitely got sucked into that franchise for a long time. I learned that survival horror is probably my favorite genre in video games.
Okay.
So, what would you say is one of your favorite video games of all time?
Oh, hands down, Dead Space.
Dead Space.
I'm plugging Dead Space here. I want this to reach the largest audience possible. Give us a finale for the story. Give us Dead Space 4. I mean, we've been hanging on for long enough. I know there's enough Dead Space fans out there. That is hands down my favorite franchise, favorite story, favorite. I mean, everything about the Dead Space universe, the gameplay in the video game, very well done.
Definitely a great series.
We can dissect each one and talk about what was wrong with the third and why it's kind of just falling flat. I mean, EA never came out and officially killed the franchise. They just said, it's basically on an indefinite hiatus. And I feel like, it's just been swept under the rug and ignored for so long. But every E3, every conference or anything about video games, I'm constantly looking for anything on Dead Space.
Dead Space related.
Just disappointment after year. But yes, definitely my favorite franchise.
Okay. So out of those 3, which one was your favorite?
That's really hard to say. It'd be a toss between 1 and 2. I mean, 1 for the sheer horrifying element that you're in the vacuum of space on a spaceship alone. I mean, you came through, but half of them get killed as soon as you arrive on the ship, and you're just
spoiler
isolated.
Alert! God, no, go on. I'm sorry.
But plus, you have no idea what the heck's going on in the first one.
This game's 12 years old.
Yeah.
Sorry, got a little bit of lag in the video there.
That's okay. No
That's
problem.
okay.
Dead Space 2, though, they add a new level of depth and character to Isaac, the character you play when
Right,
he
the
has
main
now,
character.
now he has. So I thought that was very interesting. The story was very well written. Number 3, guess what? Now it's trying to appeal to a broader audience. They bring in human combatants, and it just feels more like a third-person adventure than it does a horror game. But
Right.
difficulty up high enough, it's scary as hell.
I mean, they definitely did a very good job at their jump scares. I will say that.
Yes, absolutely. I can't tell you how many times I've played through the campaign in Dead Space 1, and there's still something that gets me every time, like the scream when you're on
Like,
the elevator.
I should be fine now. No, I should be fine. I think I'm fine. Yep, I'm fine. Oh, I'm not fine.
Blood curdling.
Everything is not okay. So let me ask you this: as somebody who has not played Dead Space, it's in the backlog. May never come out. Who knows? But what was it that was in 1 and 2 that you loved about 1 and 2? Because you mentioned you didn't like 3 as much, and we're going to get to another whole subtopic of that. But what was in 1 and 2 that you loved about 1 and 2 that you felt like just was not there in 3?
They worked so hard on creating this tangible, believable environment that you were in when you're in. I mean, it's the same could be said for number 3. That one's a little bit more outlandish because it takes place between a flotilla of a spaceship graveyard and planet side, whereas the first 2, you're on a spaceship or a space station, and the level of detail and everything. You go into an elevator, there's an inspection card with little signatures and dates on it, just all of the little tiny little obscure detail things that they add to the game that just really creates this sense of an environment that is believable. And now they add the element of being in the vacuum of space. You see all this crazy shit written all over the walls from people going crazy, killing each other. All obsessed with the marker, and it's the really dark element of politics and religion that they weave into this story, and it just makes you feel so fucking anxious and so stressed out playing the game. And like you said, the jump scares are fantastic. I mean, I played, I don't know, 25 times all the way through. And there's always something that I forget. There's always something that still comes back and fucks with me. The death scenes too. I mean, it's just the first playthrough playing Dead Space, the first one. There's several spots where I had to give up for a while, go outside, be out of the house, away from the terrible fucking sounds of that game.
Let the pulse drop.
Pieces by these monstrosities.
So what you're saying is you don't play this at 10 o'clock at night with all the lights off and surround sound all the way up.
Oh man, I was introduced to Turtle Beach headphones by playing this game, and like within 10 minutes, nope, no, that's too real. I can hear bones crunching. No. But yes, that's definitely one that's hard to play at night. But ultimately, it's the story. There's so much lore in that universe. It's so well written. I love science fiction. There's books, there's movies.
So those were the things that were lacking, you would say, in 3 versus 1 and 2. Like there was like a measurable difference in detail and story depth.
There was, an amazing, like the graphics, detail, everything, that's all there in number 3, but it feels a little bit more futuristic, I guess. And what's so strange about that is they made it's futuristic, but I will say this, they did a really good job of making it feel like everything there was old as shit, because it's, I think the timeline, like everything that occurred in the 3rd game, on the planet, the floating spaceships and all that have been there for hundreds and hundreds of years. So to Isaac and his team, when they arrive, it's as if they're arriving into like an ancient city or anything, but it's still so, I don't know, it's kind of a mind fuck in that regard. But I will say Number 3, it just lacked the horror element. They took that, almost completely out of the game.
Felt more like a shooter.
More sci-fi than horror?
Yeah, more sci-fi than horror. I mean, the storyline continued. I definitely still enjoyed it. It was still, I play it today. It's still a very enjoyable game. They introduced things like completely customizable weapons. You could build these loadouts that were insane.
That was really cool.
Powerful. That is really cool, but it takes a lot of the impact of the horror element out of the game when now you can obliterate everything in front of you with a flamethrower with a rocket launcher attached to it. Nothing can stop you. But it was fun. Those weapons made a mess.
Especially with like the co-op element, it definitely felt like an arcade shooter kind of.
I never got a chance to play co-op. I guess I don't have a lot of friends that really got into playing the game. I'm Steve myself. Most people are like, yeah, I've never played Deadspace. If you like sci-fi horror, you definitely should give it a try.
Right, yeah.
But when they introduced the human element of fighting these unitologist soldiers, that's when it felt like, I don't know, some parts more like, I don't really know what to compare it to. Just a third-person shooter adventure, less of a third-person survival horror. Certainly has its moments. There's something else I was going to say about the game, and I can't remember.
That's okay. Maybe you'll think of it. If you do, just bring it back up. If we circle back to it. So let's the subtopic of that I wanted to talk about is you mentioned Dead Space 3. Does it not seem to you guys like this is a problem that's common plaguing the video game industry in general, that once you get through the first and the second game, the third one in the trilogy is almost always disappointing?
Yeah, I totally agree. I played so many games like that. Going back to Dead Space, since I'm so focused on it right now, there was I don't want to say any spoilers. I mean, it is an older game. I assume most people probably played it or at this point don't care.
Sure.
But there's a love story in it that just is completely fucking unnecessary. It's so contrived. It feels very,
It was very forced.
Yes, very forced. Like the game could have survived just fine without that story added to it, that whole element. But
I feel that way about a lot of that stuff.
Create some tension in certain scenes, but was completely unnecessary for this game.
Why does there always have to be a love story at the center of every story? I mean, why?
Right.
We don't. I mean, if it fits, it fits. But sometimes it's not necessary. What would you say the worst game you ever played was, or the most disappointing game?
I tried to Google it and I can't guess enough of the title. I tried to look it up because I actually seen this from some previous podcasts and I immediately have an answer. I just can't remember the name of the game, but it's this piece of shit, sleazy sex game a friend of mine gave me, and it's like Leisure Suit Larry? Yes,
So don't ask me why I know. No, I'll tell you why I know. It's so funny. My old friend Brian Wilson had a computer that was in his dad's office, and his dad, Bruce, rest in peace, Bruce, was a very strict man, and you strictly could not get into his adult video game section that was on this shelf. And he had several of the Leisure Suit Larry games. Now, this is back in the 90s.
Yeah.
So you played Leisure Suit Larry? When was it? In the 90s or more recently?
It was more recently, 2005, 2006. It was on PlayStation 2. And I don't know the exact title entry, but it was just
Larry made his way to PlayStation 2. No shit.
Yeah. I mean, worth a couple of fucking laughs, I guess, but definitely the shittiest game I've ever played.
Yeah, you are correct. In fact, now that you mention it, I do remember that artwork, if you can call it that. Leisure Suit Larry is just weird.
Very, very.
Straight weird. Okay. How about the game that you had the most hype for, that you were most disappointed in? Like you got it and you were like, fuck.
Anthem.
Anthem. We can talk about Anthem.
Yeah, we can talk
Oh man, I'm getting tired of studios doing this to us, man. And it's oh my God. All right, I have to say I haven't played Cyberpunk. I've only read the reviews, the complaints. I know you personally have said good things about it and enjoyed your experience. And I think this comes from people with high expectations, but maybe it's their hardware that can't necessarily deliver. And then all the people on console are like, oh, this game sucks. Yeah, well, you're playing on console. I mean, not to throw shade or hate or whatever
No, throw it. Throw that shade.
I've always been a console gamer until last year. Our mutual buddy Dave from the band's Reverser got me into PC gaming.
Right.
When the pandemic started, I was home a lot more because I work in the industrial field. I work on industrial hoists and cranes, and all of the sites that we work on were like, hey, wait a minute, we're not letting anybody on site because we got to figure this shit out, safety protocols. So I ended up with a few weeks at home myself. And of course, them being in production and music, they were, also at home a lot more. So Dave told me that it's a mutual game that we both play a lot of, but I was playing on console, Warframe.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had the shittiest little Dell Optiplex small form factor office computer, and he said,
right.
Do you think it'll run Warframe? And it did. Horribly. It would crash. I tried to play. I went on a little pursuit of trying to upgrade it, getting cheap little video cards to put in it. But ultimately I started playing on PC, and when I built my own computer for the first time, built my own gaming rig, of course, he actually helped me along the way, choosing parts and what I should put in it. Very happy with it. I just recently adapted to playing on keyboard and mouse.
Yep.
I've always been handicapped with a controller, and now I'm like, oh shit, I get it. I totally get it. I've joined the face of gaming. PC is definitely where it's at, but games I play here that I had on console, there's just so much of a difference. No Man's Sky. I've never seen No Man's Sky run on ultra settings at 60 frames per second. You don't get that with a console. You just don't get the same experience.
No, you do not.
But back to Anthem, I think is where I originally started.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Started complaining here. That game was so disappointing. The storyline, there was so much potential, and they teased us. For 2 years I followed whatever thread that kept dropping the promo videos for it. There was so much from those videos that didn't actually make it to the finished product, if you can call it a finished product.
The unfinished finished product.
I had a lot of fun playing it for about a week. I'm like, that's it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And I think I'm a little extra salty about it because when I bought myself a copy, I bought a friend of mine a copy so we could play together. He gifted me Black Ops 3 right before that, so I've got this for him, and I'm like, wow. Oh no, sorry. That's it, because we're playing the Battle Royale and that a whole bunch.
Yeah, sure. Blackout,
right,
Black Ops 4, right.
Yeah, I got him Anthem thinking we could have fun with the third-person co-op, and should have just stuck with Warframe. Not that abomination that they
I mean, it had a lot of promise if they could have actually delivered it,
They would have delivered, right? But, I've started noticing a trend in, these cash grab games that they will build it up, hype it up, tease you so much. And I mean, Anthem was exactly that. All the cool things that you could do in this game, in this massively open world, and it didn't deliver on any of it. I don't even know if if anybody still plays the game. I'm sure they do, but I mean, do you guys know if they ever improved the game at all? Added any more content?
So yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ben. You can deliver the news.
No, that's okay. So they had plans to make an Anthem 2.0.
Anthem Next.
Anthem Next or whatever. So they were going to work on this, and then it was like a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they decided that they were going to decide the fate of Anthem.
Yep.
And they have decided to discontinue Anthem.
Yes. They're redirecting the developers. Yep.
Dragon Age and Mass Effect.
Yeah, Dragon Age 4. Yeah, and the Mass Effect remaster.
Yep.
when No Man's Sky first launched, it got horrible reviews. I think it was exclusive to it was exclusive to PC and PlayStation 3 when it first
4.
launched, right? Or PlayStation 4. That's right. Anyways, I had neither of those, so I didn't play it till probably 2018, I think, is when I got it, when they made it available for Xbox. When it first launched, it got horrible reviews. People said the same thing about it. So thinking of Anthem, I thought, well, I mean, if they get their shit together and work on the game and deliver on the game that they promised, that they had teased for so long,
Right.
I would be opposed to going back to it and playing the game and giving it another chance, because No Man's Sky certainly did a 180, and now they got a lot of people play the game a lot. Since I've been playing on PC, I've gotten back into it quite a bit. I mean, as a matter of fact, think that at some point I'm probably going to do that on the stream. I think it could be a lot of fun. I haven't myself watched a lot of people play it, but just the mindless sandbox aspect of it's a lot of fun. And then there's also quests. There's story stuff to go do, and fly to the galactic core, the galaxy that you're exploring, and the procedurally generated worlds. Sure, a lot of it's repetitive because it's procedurally generated. It's gonna be like that. They do add new content, but
there's only so much.
Do either of you play No Man's Sky?
I have No Man's Sky. I do play it. In fact, I think the difference, to quickly touch on it, between No Man's Sky and Anthem is where they come from. Hello Games this was their debut, right? I mean, this was their magnum opus. This was their chance to step out there, and they really screwed the pooch, no doubt about it. I mean, they basically went into hiding. They had no choice but to fix their reputation or say goodbye to their studio. And they chose the former over the latter, but they had that choice. They were not under the control and the decision-making power of an overseer like EA. And that's the thing. I think if BioWare was given the choice, BioWare itself would have gone ahead and probably worked on fixing Anthem and making it better. I think that was always their intention. But EA is the person, the entity that pulls the purse strings, so to speak. To answer your question, yes, I have had it. I got it initially when it first came out. I was pretty disappointed in it because it felt unfinished and not like what they had promised. So I refunded it. I think I waited like a year or something like that. I don't remember how long, but I did get it again. I do have it now. I haven't spent a ton of time on it. It's something I want to spend more time on. But it's so massive. It's just kind of almost, I'm at a point where I'm like, almost like, I don't know what I want to do. I get in there and I'm like, what do I want to do now? What goal do I want to work toward?
See, I kind of, when I go into the game, I don't set a goal to work towards. That's the kind of game I want to go play when I don't have a goal. You know what? I'm going to go use the resources that all of my automated equipment has collected and build something really cool. It gives you so much.
But that's a goal.
And then there is a story. Okay, well, I don't want to do any of this. I want to progress further. Maybe I want to expand my fleet and my with my ships and everything like that. So there's so many different ways to play, and it's very enjoyable. It's a nice break from most of the other games I play are extremely violent. And this no, you just run around scanning rocks and trees and shit and exploring the galaxy. I wanted to say this about the game. I don't know the name of the planet. I can't tell you how to get there, but I've experienced this more than once. There's definitely some jokesters there in the art and design development of that game, because there are some life forms on certain planets that look very phallic. They look like bouncing dildos jumping over the planet. It is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
There are weird ones.
They have rainbow rings on them and everything, and that's just my wife doesn't really. She doesn't care that I play games, but she's not a gamer herself, so she doesn't really pay attention. But I had to go, like, please look at this. There are dildos all over.
Honey, you gotta see this.
Yes, it's very fun to make those discoveries in that game. It's just I don't know how the procedurally generated stuff works. I'm not at all a developer or an IT guy or anything like that. Work on cranes. I play video, however, and that's a lot of entertaining fun to find a planet like that.
In terms of the mindless gameplay, I played the American Truck Simulator game, and that is my mindless gameplay. I hook up my wheel and my stick, and I just drive, and I it's a blast, man. I like it. I dig it. It's probably it definitely is a niche thing. It's it's not for everybody. Wait till it goes on sale if you're going to get it, because it goes down to like $5 for the base game. And you can try it. And that's actually something I would play with a controller first before I'd go get a wheel or anything and invest all that money. I played it with controller first. It's perfectly serviceable that way. But it definitely is a great game to do if
I have a wheel around
something mindless.
So I might have to give it a shot. I got a wheel for playing Forza. Love Forza Motorsport and Horizon. Those are both a lot of fun. Controller, I never really got into the racing games because I was just never good at them. I mean, to be honest, I couldn't, I'd always played automatic transmission. I'd still hit the fucking wall. I was like, you know what, this is
I'm done.
Curse your walls.
I love watching football, but I can't play sports games. I'm just not good at them. I don't have the patience for the play calling and all that stuff. I don't.
That's fair.
I love watching. I will watch somebody play Madden and have a lot of fun doing so. But like, come on, man, play. No, good. We can play something where we can shoot each other, and I'm down for that. But
that's fair. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Everybody has their desired access level in gaming. That's right. That's the thing about gaming that I think that I love the most is that there is something for everyone in gaming. Absolutely. Even if they don't think there's something somewhere that they're going to like, some form of game that they're going to enjoy on some platform in some fashion.
There's always, or at least from my perspective, growing up with, I know this sounds kind of contradicting from what I was saying earlier about my parents playing video games, and one of the most violent games at that, Resident Evil. However, when Mortal Kombat was a thing, and I always we would get in line to play that at the arcade. They were very against it. I think it's just because of how it came out in the news that this game was so violent and it was inspiring kids to be violent. It's like, no, it's not. I don't remember ever even wanting to get in a fight with anybody because I played the game. But and because I've mentioned Mortal Kombat, I know that you also, as a big gamer, and you like Mortal Kombat too, the old school series. Playing 1, 2, and 3 in the original arcade. I mean, God, there would be lines of people lined up to play the game. And when I first played the home version on, was it Sega Saturn or Genesis? Which was it?
Oh, Genesis.
Genesis. Okay, so I never had a Genesis. I only had the NES and the Super NES. My cousin, he had the Sega Genesis, and he had Mortal Kombat. I was having a sleepover at his house or something, but he's like, I got the game. We started playing it, and I'm thinking, hey, very conservative, very Southern Baptist household, very strict mom, my Aunt Becky. And I'm like, how in the fuck does he have this game? Does she not know what's in this game? And then we start playing. There's no blood. There's no fatalities. There's no knocking anybody down onto the spikes. I'm like, okay, this sucks. He makes sure the coast is clear. His mom's in the living room, whatever. He puts in the code, the beginning of the game, to turn on all of the fatalities and the blood.
Yes,
that's
like,
right.
ABAC,
So real quickly, what are some games? What are some games that you're currently playing? You mentioned No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky, Microsoft Flight Simulator. I love that. I got the flight stick controller and everything. Sort of like nice. Steve's into the truck simulator. It's the same. Yeah. And the visuals in the game, especially with the new graphics card I just put in my PC. God, it looks so good.
What card are you running? Are you running?
I got a Radeon RX 580 from my cousin.
Okay.
it's definitely a significant boost over the GTX 1650. And like I said, I had the low profile card for the smaller case that I had it in initially. But yeah, this is running much better, much smoother. I can't push the graphics up to ultra in Flight Simulator. I can push them up to high end.
Not many people can. I mean, that's a big ass game.
It really is.
Yeah,
but
that's a monster game.
Probably 30 to 40 frames flying at a low altitude. Once I, climb above 10,000 feet, 60 frames, smooth.
Sure.
And it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Playing No Man's Sky. I've gotten back into Skyrim a lot recently. There's a lot of games in my catalog that I had on Xbox that I'm now going back and revisiting on PC and finding I enjoy them so much better. I've started.
Not a Call of Duty guy?
All right, so
Dad, got to make it fast. It's got to be a fast answer because we're running out of time.
Rage quit.
Rage quit. Understood.
I just can't keep up with the kids, man. I mean, I watch you. I enjoy watching other people play it, and sometimes even watching you, I get angry.
I was gonna say, I don't think you need to say anymore. It's Call of Duty. Rage quit.
I sometimes wonder how I'm able to keep up with the kids, and it usually takes me 2 or 3 rounds to get warmed up before I can actually keep up with their timing. I'm like an old ass engine that has to warm up, especially in the cold weather. You got to start me and let me run for about a half hour, and then I'll come up to power. But if you try to floor me in the first 5 minutes, I'm probably just gonna shit the bed.
Well, I'll say this: my children watched me play games when I was playing on console. They were learning some very colorful words when I would not be aware that they're behind me.
Yikes! So real quick before we have to go, because we're literally running out of time, the system's going to kill us. What's your Twitch again?
PlaybackFlak.
Okay, and do you have Instagram?
I do not yet. I'm kind of just getting started into this stuff. I'm still putting the final tweaks on my channel, but I do intend to start streaming within the next week.
Okay, very cool.
Focused on survival horror, that sort of stuff. Kind of jump between No Man's Sky and Deadspace.
We'll have the link to your Twitch in the description. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Keith, thank you again. We appreciate it. We'll have you back for another one. You like to talk, and we do too. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Have a great time. Thanks for joining us for this great time. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of How It Started. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us. You can find links to our podcast episodes, social media, and more by going to howitstartedpod.com or by searching for How It Started, How Gamers Became Gamers on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. We release new episodes on Tuesdays and Fridays. You can find Ben on Twitch at twitch.tv/ZivionV3 and on Instagram at Zivion. You can find Steve on Twitch at twitch.tv/SecretLayerArcade, on Instagram at SecretLayerArcade, and on Twitter at LayerArcade. Until next time, I'm Steve Arcade. For myself and my co-host Ben, thanks for joining us, and be sure to live your best one up.